Alright, welcome back, and this is right. I have actually played every single ascendancy there is, as you can see on my character list right here. We have every single one of them, and so far so good. There's a couple that I did not enjoy as much, and for that reason, as you'll notice right here, if we go down the list, you can see the ritual list is only 82 and the Witch Hunter is only 63. Those two I did not enjoy too much, so I never really got around to play a whole lot. I just played through the campaign and then got into maps and then kind of fell off at that point. The rest of them, though, I have played significantly, I would say. I have tested a bunch of stuff, a bunch of skills, the ascendancy nodes, and a bunch of other stuff. And yeah, I kind of just wanted to quickly talk about every ascendancy for just kind of give you an idea what it is about or how good it is. So let's start out with the Gimling Legionnaire. Alright, so here we are with the Gimling Legionnaire, which is a decent, honestly, it's a decent ascendancy. It has some pretty good, I would say, features to it. It's among, in my opinion, the top class of ascendancies. It's one of the better ones, and it's very much so an all-around ascendancy, which you can kind of play a little bit of everything on. And the starting position on the tree, which is right here, is honestly, in my opinion, one of the stronger positions to start from in the tree, both in terms of going through the campaign, but also into the end game. This is just one of those spots that are really strong on the tree, and I do enjoy playing mercenaries. I spent a lot of time playing mercenaries this league, but also previously I played it quite a bit. So that's basically it for the mercenary. If you're looking for something that's pretty good all around, can play a lot of different skills, has a really strong starting point with a lot of strong both offensive and defensive nodes around you, this is the class for you. Alright, next up we have the Invoker Monk, and this is, in my opinion, one of the strongest ascendancies. There are a couple of ascendancies that are just outshining the others by a little bit, and this is definitely one of those, in my opinion. I really like this ascendancy. I played this a lot, and it is kind of either the strongest starting point or the second strongest starting point. I'm not fully sure if I want to say this is the absolute strongest starting point, but it's one of them for sure. It has so many good nodes around it, so much defense, so much offense, a lot of possibilities with the Invoker Monk, and this ascendancy is just strong when it comes to elementals and stuff like that. It's just strong. Very enjoyable to play, very snappy, very fast, and yeah, it's an overall strong character, and you can play multiple things on it. However, I would say elemental damage is probably a go-to with this one. Next up, we have the Pathfinder. And for the Pathfinder, it's actually an ascendancy that has gone a little bit up and down. It is still feeling somewhat strong. It's not nearly as it was in 01, where you were able to use this bow with a quiver and still use your concoctions. That is no longer a thing. They removed the ability to actually use this setup. So after they removed that, it dropped. It was a massive nerf to the top end damage on it, but it's still fairly viable, I would say. It's not the best in my opinion. It does have one of the strongest starting points, and it does have some really good really good features. There's a lot of things here that revolve around speed or concoctions. So if you're into that type of gameplay, this is definitely not a bad choice. And it also has some utility features and a couple of other things going on for it, and we'll just have to wait and see how that actually works out with the new tree we're getting. But yeah, starting right here in the Ranger section is probably, in terms of campaign, probably the strongest starting point, I would say. Um, it's definitely between these three right here. So the mercenary, the ranger, or the monk. I would consider these the three like strongest starting points. And then you have the witch is pretty strong as well. But this is a banger. It's really really good. It's somewhat fast as well once you skill it out. Now as you saw, my tree is fucked up after the new update. They changed a bunch of things and it took away all my skill points, so I have to put in all the skill points again, and that's why you're looking at it like that. Alright, next up we got the blood mage, and this is the old blood mage. So from the 29th and forward, we'll have we don't have to use our first ascendancy to take this point. We are automatically getting this, so this gets moved up here, and then our starting point is going to be this ascendancy point right here, and then from here we can then pick whatever we want. Now I would consider this probably one of the strongest ascendancies in the game at the moment in terms of just raw power. Now it's not the greatest starter in my opinion. I prefer when I do a witch to start on a different ascendancy and then use that to get to maps, and then once I get geared, then I can swap into the blood mage. That's usually how I do it. So it's not my favorite starter, but in the end game it's probably one of the strongest builds there is. I really really like it. This is one of the characters I played the absolute most on. This and the Invoker Monk is the two that I by far played absolutely the most on. The Monk was level 96 and this is level 95, so you can tell I spent a lot of time playing it, and that's from season 1, back when it was like really hard to get XP. So this is a banger. I love this build. I love this character. This is one of my favorites, and yeah, I hope you guys try it out. Next up is the Acolyte of Jaula. Now this ascendancy is receiving quite a bit of changes and buffs all around this little tree here. However, I don't see those changes being enough to pulling this from the absolute bottom tier ascendancy up to just the middle. I don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe that'll be something that pops out of this ascendancy all of a sudden that is strong enough to where I would consider this actually a good ascendancy. But at the moment, in my opinion, this is probably the weakest of the bunch. It's between this and the Witch Hunter, in my opinion. I just don't like those two builds at all. And mind you, this one used to be able to one-shot Uber Arbiter in no problem with this blink setup. Now this has been changed quite a bit, so it's not nearly as strong as it was back on the first league on 0.1. This was absolutely outrageous how good this was, but even though this was so good, it was just the ascendancy in itself doesn't really give me anything that's worth and as you saw, I only have 2 ascends because I didn't even bother doing anything else. There's nothing else here that I wanted besides the extra damage, and the chaos resistance was the only 2 things I kind of wanted out of this ascendancy. Alright, so here we are with the next one up, which is going to be a sorceress, and this is the Storm Weaver, and this is another one of those ascendancies that was in season 1. It was really really good. It was super super strong. Now however, it's a little bit less utilized. I hope with this new league we're getting, and that the skill changes and setups are gonna buff this a little bit again, so it gets back to its glory. You could say this was a pretty decent build back then, but the changes to jewels and jewel sockets and the tree and other things kind of made this a lot less powerful than what it was on the first season. However, this is again one of the stronger sides to start on. It's not I don't consider this the strongest. I would say which is better, just for doing the campaign and whatnot, and probably also into the end game. But this is still a strong contender. It's definitely not bad. It has a lot going on for it, especially if you're going for certain elemental stuff. This is a very good choice. And yeah, I think that's it for the Stormweaver. Alright, so next up we got the Amazon, and this is also receiving a bit of changes and a bit of nerfs. However, I still think this Ascendancy will be fine to start with. Like, I don't think the changes will gut the Ascendancy, so it's not useful anymore. I think this is still going to be fairly usable and have some decent stuff going on here. We might have to see and change some stuff around to make it good, but I still see a possibility with this Ascendancy pulls a lot of people to it, and it's on top of that, it is one of the strongest starting points. It has a lot of potential around it in terms of damage and in terms of defensive. There is so much going on here. I love this Ascendancy. I played this quite a bit, and I had a lot of fun. So yeah, this is a good one. I think this is a good one for sure. Okay, next up we have the Infernalist. This has a lot of potential in my opinion. I really like this Ascendancy. It has a really good basic for doing minions, but it also have a very good base for doing casting spells and stuff like that. So definitely worth trying out. It's in a fairly strong starting point. It has a lot of DPS around it, and it has a lot of defensive stats around it. So it's a really good starting point that you're starting from. Minions playstyle is kind of very easy and very relaxed to play. It's not something that's gonna push super hard for your technicalities. Like you don't really have to do a bunch of stuff. You just pay attention to the attacks and then move around them or evade them, and that's it, man. This is a phenomenal Ascendancy. I love this Ascendancy. I played it a whole lot. It's one of those things that's just like fun to play, and it's a great starter. It falls off a little bit in the end game in comparison to other builds, in my opinion. But however, with the changes that we're getting, I do see a world where this rises back to its former glory. It is somewhat strong, but it is very defensively strong. It is, the offense is a little weaker, but the defense is really good on this build, in my opinion, or on this Ascendancy. So yes, definitely try this out if you're looking to do something minion or even some spell stuff. This is a great one to start out with. Alright, next up we got the Lich, and the Lich is another one of those Ascendancies. It's super strong. It's a really good starting point on the tree. It's a really good Ascendancy. I don't think any of the nodes is necessarily bad. There's some are stronger than others, but overall it's just a very strong Ascendancy, and this works extremely well with chaos minions, some spells. It's just a really good choice in my opinion, especially because you have the ability to swap Ascendancies now. So let's say you start this out, you go through the campaign and everything is brilliant, it goes really well, you get through it fast. Then you get into the end game, you feel like the damage falls off. You can always swap the Ascendancy into the Blood Mage, because the Blood Mage is extremely strong, or you could swap into the Infernalist if you want that. But however, you have 3 decently strong Ascendancies to pick from with the Witch class, a really good starting point on the tree. So there's a lot of good things to say about this, and I do like it a lot. It was an interesting character to play. Alright, so here we go with the Chronomancer. And the Chronomancer is something that I have also played quite a bit. I have enjoyed this quite a lot actually, even though the Ascendancy was extremely good on the first season. I don't think it was nearly as good last season, and I'm hoping to see kind of a comeback for this Ascendancy. Now, in terms of how I personally played this specific Ascendancy, I had a curse bot for this one, so I basically provide a bunch of utility for the party and have a bunch of curses going, and that is how I build it. And as a curse bot, it functions really well. It has a lot of utility, the freeze time, all these different things. It's just super useful, and I really like it. I actually really enjoyed this one. Next up, we have the Ranger. This is by far one of the strongest ascendancies, and there's just so many things. Even with the new changes, there is so many good things about this ascendancy. It has so much power, and it is exceptional how much power you can pull out of this. But not just that, it has so much speed. It doesn't have a ton of defense, but it has it's getting quite a bit of a buff now in the new season in terms of defenses. So this is going to be interesting to see if this is going to be the strongest or if it's just in top 3. But I definitely believe this is going to be one of those ascendancies that they'll need to change a little bit to make it feel more in line with the other ones, because this is just nearly overpowered, I would say. Is in comparison to a lot of the other ascendancies, this is extremely powerful, and this has a extremely good starting point on the tree. And it's a ranged character, so you also have a lot of safety in not having to be up in monsters' faces. It is just an overall good character to play. It does have the Pathfinder as its second ascendancy, so if you do get annoyed with bows, you could switch over to unarmed and you could do some concoction stuff or other things. But this has so much potential. This can play a multitude of different things. You could use bows, crossbows, you can use quarterstaves, you could use a lot of things with this ascendancy that would be really strong. So it's very interesting. It's a very interesting ascendancy. It has a lot of power and a lot of utility for going on for it. So I highly advise you to try this out if you haven't. This is incredible, and with the new buffs to evasion, I think this is going to be even stronger. Okay, so next up we have the Ritualist. This is an ascendancy that I just tried out to see if I could figure out some kind of skill that I could play with it that I really enjoyed, besides Lightning Spear, but I did not actually get to a point where I was super happy or anything. This was kind of one of those ascendancies that I played, and the more I played it, the more disappointed I kind of got, and it ended up being not great. Now I did go a completely different route. I went melee and some other stuff, but still I feel like it's just not doing it for me. It does have an incredibly good and strong starting point, but the rest of the ascendancy is kind of mid in my opinion. However, if you do start this, you'd still have the opportunity to swap the ascendancy and go Amazon in case this does not work out for you. So with the backup as an Amazon, I would still consider this a decent ascendancy. It's not the best, it's not the worst, but it's in the middle somewhere. But yeah, good starting place on the tree and overall mid-tier ascendancy. Okay, so here we are on the warrior side and the Warbringer, and the Warbringer is a fairly good ascendancy in my opinion, especially with the new changes. And now that we are basically making this 1 point, so you can take the Jade statue, or if you want the ancestral spirits, but I would take the Jade statue over that with this setup that I'm currently using. And overall, decent ascendancy, honestly, fairly good. The biggest issue with the new update will be the nerf to Giant's Blood, which is this keystone right here. And the new changes makes it half your, like basically you get half the health you get from strength, And when you only have, I'm only sitting at 3k life, and that is with 534 strength. So if like if I'm losing 1,000 life from that, I can't take this keystone anymore, because I wouldn't be able to survive anything. So that is a major letdown this league. Warriors have like caught a bit of a nerf, I'm not gonna lie. It has been the theme of Path of Exile 2 since the launch of early access, has been to nerf the warrior. And I would honestly consider this the weakest point in the tree now to start at. Any warrior has a harsh time in, not in the first 3 acts, but in the end game. It's just so fucking tough. Now, in terms of the campaign, it's fairly good. It's not bad at all. It was the one to win the race to Act 3 multiple times, so it's not bad, but it's just, if you're a casual player, I bet you will feel better starting at either of these 3 points, even like the witch area. But these 3 is just night and day difference in strength, on the early and on the mid and even on the late end of the game. There's a lot of negative things here that gives you less attack speed or reduced mana and like all kinds of bullshit that's just very tough to build around. But it is doable. You can definitely do it. It's just not super fun to play, to be honest. Armor gives you a massive penalty to movement speed. So as you can see, it says I only have 15 movement speed, even though I have 25 movement speed on my boots. So yeah, there is a lot of like downside to this side of the tree, and a lot of downside to having a life or life and armor build. It's just not a greatest type of defensive layer at the moment. You're always better off with energy shield at the moment. Alright, so next up we got the next warrior, which is the one that I played for Dawn of the Hunt. This is the Smith of Katava. However, I again do not think that this is a great ascendancy. It's okay, it has a couple of things going on for it. The new changes kind of nerfed it quite a bit, but it is still okay. It's just, again, it has a rough starting point. It's just rough playing a life build and an armor build. It's not great. It is kind of rough, and I do hope to see some changes to this, because it's just so tough in the end game. However, I did play this quite a bit. I did get it to level 91. I didn't play this as a melee character. I played the Scissorin build with the artillery ballista. I wanted to try that out. It looks super fun. It was kind of fun, but I was just feeling so weak and like getting one-shotted all the time. Okay, so for the last warrior ascendancy, which is the Titan, again, fairly okay ascendancy. There's some interesting things going on. Some things are less interesting, and some things are just straight out boring. But I would say that it's fairly okay. It's not the worst ascendancy in the world. It's kind of okay. But there's a lot of fucking, again, like the starting areas are tough. There's a lot of skills that aren't great. This is my Molten Blast, and that skill has gotten changed, so probably be a lot better this time around. But it's still just not great. It's again mid-tier to low-tier, honestly, in my opinion. Again, armor, life, it's just tough to fucking work with. As you see, I have 736 strength on this one, but with the Giant's Blood nerf, basically this one counters it, you could say. So now you get the regular amount, but that would also mean that I lose 50%, right, like of my strength nodes here, which is quite a lot of life. So not great, man. Absolutely not great. Still though, it might be fun to play if you're into this stuff and you want a hard time. For me personally, I would put this to mid and low tier, and that's just how it's gonna go for all the warriors. Alright, so next up we have the mercenary called the Witch Hunter. Now for the Witch Hunter, before we were talking about Chaula being at the bottom, and if Chaula is not at the bottom, if you put it at the second to last, this would be at the bottom in my opinion. I just do not like this ascendancy. The starting point, however, is really strong, it's really good, and there's a lot of potential for power and defenses. But the overall ascendancy, I'm not a big fan. I would put this at the worst ascendancy, honestly, or second to worst, in my opinion. Hopefully, we see some changes that's going to make this a lot cooler and a lot more interesting. Currently, I'm not a fan. Hopefully, we'll see some changes in the future. That's all I'm going to say about this. Alright, last but not least, the last mercenary class, and the last class we got on the list at the moment, which is the Tactician. And personally, one of my favorite, absolute favorite ascendancies of all of them. I really like this one. I really enjoy this one. As a support build, it is phenomenal. We'll still have to wait and see how the glory implementation works with banners now that we don't have to use the valor mechanic anymore, but we have to change it to the glory mechanic. We'll just have to wait and see how well that performs. But if there is if this does anything like it does this season or did in the Dawn of the Hunt, this is a great ascendancy in my opinion. It has a lot going on for it. There's a lot of different play styles you can play with it. Early game, when you're going through the campaign, using this ascendancy with gas arrow and the flame wall, and then putting your first 2 ascendancy points into, or your first 4 ascendancy points into the pinned situation here, will let you go through the entire campaign with no issues whatsoever. It's going to be a breeze. All the bosses going to be a breeze. Everything is going to be a breeze. It's super easy to go through the campaign with these. Once you get into the end game, and if you want to go the same direction that I went, where I use banners, and that is basically my support, I provide a bunch of utility, a bunch of damages from the presence. My area of presence is massive, and therefore I can add like fire damage to people's attack and attack rating and other stuff. And all of those things combined is just extremely high performance in my opinion. Now this is not a DPS build, so of course I can't kill anything, but it has a lot of potential to be a DPS build. You can definitely go that route with it, and it has a massively good starting point. It's super strong overall. There's a lot of good things to say about this, and I love this one. It is why I probably will league start this. Currently that is what I'm thinking. However, I might change it in the last second and go with something else. Alright, so that was my take on the different ascendancies after having played all of them, and very interesting to play all of them actually and figure out what works and what doesn't work and just try my way through it, playing around with everything. It was fun, man. It's been a lot of fun playing around with all this, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. Like, comment, subscribe, all the good jazz, and hope you all have a good day, good evening, whatever it might be for you, and I will catch you all in the next one.